Over the past decade, Africa has been experiencing a period of sustained and unprecedented growth. By 2050, the continent will have a population of at least 2 billion people, twice as many as today, 40% of them in rural areas. Despite its enormous potential for energy resources, the continent still suffers from an energy deficit and low access to renewable energy technologies and infrastructure. By 2030, between 600 and 700 million people, over 42% of the population, will not have access to electricity and will thus be deprived of the right to a productive and healthy life. Sustainable access to renewable energy is not only a major vector for the structural transformation of national and local economies, but also a powerful spring for the resilience of communities, and particularly the most vulnerable to the challenges of climate change. As part of the implementation of the Sustainable Energy for All initiative in Africa, UNDP, the United Nations Development Programme, and NEPAD, the New Partnership for Africa's Development, jointly organized in Dakar a roundtable of promoters and investors for the implementation of renewable energy projects in Africa and a symposium on the experiences of the 2 decades of energy micro-enterprises in sub-Saharan Africa.
This Dakar meeting is, I think, is one of the best meetings we have organized to share our work and the tremendous results that we have had implementing the UNDP regional project on access to energy and poverty reduction. So far, the main objective of this meeting is really to share the results and to discuss with the key stakeholders, the key partners that we have been working with for the last 5 to 6 years on the implementation of the project, but also discuss and see what is, the way forward, because it's absolutely important and critical for UNDP and for the partners to keep energy access as a priority. Without energy, there is no development in Africa. So that's absolutely important. And as you know, UNDP is, the UN lead agency on supporting governments on development-related stuff. And then we do also support government on the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. And as you know, the Sustainable Development Goal, the Objective 7, is about access to energy. And that's absolutely important. And UNDP will be really, working with regional institutions, working with the African Union, with big partners like the African Development Bank and the NEPAD, but also working with countries on making sure that, we by 2030, we're going to meet the objective of access to energy for all.
We are moving from policies to implementation now, which is all the countries want to see. They want to see their project implemented at the end of the day. This is why they joined SE for all. And after that actual conference, which we have yesterday and today, again, both NEPAD and UNDP will join hands to continue approaching in your behalf possible financiers to ensure that your project see the light.
The Sustainable Energy for All initiative in Africa, C4All, was launched in September 2011 by the United Nations with the goal of achieving 3 main objectives by 2030. Universal access to modern energy services, the doubling of the global rate of improvement of energy efficiency, and the doubling of the share of renewable energies in the global energy mix.
We have supported almost 20 countries to complete what we call the investment prospectus and the action agendas for energy, which is absolutely important because countries need to know where their comparative advantage is, what kind of priorities they may have, and also identify their priorities on investing on energy-related issues. And then we have helped them to do that. But now the challenge is how are we going to really help countries to implement those investment prospectus and those action agendas. And that's what we have been discussing, and I'm sure and I'm confident that with NEPAD we will keep doing the same, the business together, and we're going to scale it up, try to bring as much as partners we can so that at least all of us together we can help countries to achieve that.
Energy is vital for economic development in all its forms. a reality well understood by the international community, which has specifically adopted a sustainable development goal, the seventh of the UN SDGs, to ensure universal access to reliable, sustainable, and modern energy services at an affordable cost by 2030. Africa is central to this goal. Since 2011, the UNDP has been implementing multifunctional anti-poverty platforms in more than 10 countries in sub-Saharan Africa.
À ce jour, plus de 3500 villages africains.
To this day, more than 3,500 villages benefited from energy, lighting, agro-food processing, water pumping, and other energy-efficient uses thanks to this multifunctional platform concept. And I can say that other partners have been very inspired by this platform to also multiply it in some other countries. The fractional multi-platform is now one of the priorities in several national or energy investment plans for all.
I am very interested in educating young people at the university level, and that's what I do. And I was speaking in the context of a workshop, experiential learning workshop that we have with graduate students to go in the field and see with their own eyes the multifunctional platform, which is transforming the lives of rural women by creating income generation, by reducing the drudgery in the rural areas, and creating more opportunities with access to modern energy. So that is a capstone workshop program which is designed to bring students in their final year of study to learn by working with a client in the field how to solve a particular problem. So it's a value add for the client because they get a solid expertise from 5 or 6 or 7 students looking at a specific problem that they've defined, and then the students present that result, and a lot of times the students become authors of papers that help support UNDP's program, or they present on behalf of UNDP. Any number of things happen as a result of that, or it also opens up career opportunities for students. So a lot of my students have gone on to work in the energy access space or create their own social enterprises or work for UNDP or work for other development partners.
Par rapport à la rencontre de Dakar, nous
Compared to the Dakar meeting, we are expecting massive financing of our projects, more precisely by the UNDP, which has already begun to support us in some projects. We are waiting for donor organizations like ADB, the IDB, because they are also financially involved, and other donors are expected to help fund projects. There is the solar pump project, especially for the villages, for their livestock and water supply. These pumps are installed in the canals where the oxen move around to obtain water.
Clean energy investments enable African countries to exploit the enormous renewable energy resources they contain and to make rapid progress towards the establishment of efficient and modern infrastructures.
Je pense que la place de l'énergie a été mise en exergue.
I think that the place of energy has been highlighted particularly in the framework of the SDGs, and the studies that the UNDP has carried out show that if one takes the 17 objectives, it is the SDGs on energy that has the biggest multiplier effect on the other SDGs, meaning that an action in the field of energy generates more results and benefits over other SDGs. This means that energy becomes central even for the achievements of other SDGs.
C'est la raison pour laquelle également nous nous sommes engagés et actuellement le PNUD accompagne le Togo dans la révision de sa politique énergétique.
This is why we are committed, and currently the UNDP is supporting Togo in the revision of its energy policy. It is true that this is a global policy based on an energy mix that takes into account the commitments that Togo made at the Paris conference. So we are helping Togo to move towards the integration of all its new opportunities.
mais également l'intégration de toutes ces opportunités nouvelles.
In 2010, the access to energy in my country was below 20%, to be precise. It was 18%. But as we are speaking now, it has gone to 40%, which is quite substantial improvement. And now, but again, let me just point out that of all this development and efforts, renewable energy contribution in the total energy mix is still very low. It's almost 5%. So our coming here is trying to promote the renewable energy so that it can the renewable energy portfolio in the total energy mix can be raised to what as a country we want. You see, there are so many initiatives, the Sustainable Energy for All and other initiatives which are promoting renewable energy.
We have worked together with the African Union Commission, also with the African Development Bank, to put in place what we call the African Hub for Sustainable Energy for All. We are moving to a new stage from this conference that brings together investors and developers, and with this symposium, it is the stage of implementation. It is precisely in order to put projects and programs in line with funding opportunities, so that priority in terms of renewable energy projects can be translated into concrete projects within the framework of the policies and programs defined by the states we are supporting, both nationally and internationally.
It is estimated that Africa will need to mobilize between $50 billion and $80 billion a year to meet all the objectives of the Sustainable Energy for All initiative, a financial challenge which requires the involvement of private investors, particularly in renewable energies, where the bill amounts to about $36 billion a year. The Sustainable Energy for All initiative should change the situation through the establishment of innovative public-private partnerships based on constructive political dialogue, investment and market development by governments, businesses, and civil societies.